Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. My name is Stan Kirkland, and as you can see, Winston's not here today, but I believe he will be back tomorrow. The weather today, high today is going to be 87 degrees. Not as bad as it's been. Low is 79. With that high today, the real field temperature is like 101. So drink plenty of liquids if you're outside and limit your time outside in the middle of the day. River readings are brought to us by Mountain Dew. The Apalachicola River at Bluntstown is a little over 7 feet, 7.21 feet. Now this is yesterday's reading. The flood stage at Bluntstown is about 15 feet, so you can see it's not anywhere near flood stage. The Choctawhatchee River at Kerrville, the reading's 5.43 feet. The flood stage there is about 12 feet. Tides are brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home. The high tide today in Panama City is 9:31 a.m. Low is tonight at 7:22. There's great tide change here if you like to fish. You're probably a little late if you're seeing this getting out, but it's about a 1.7 foot change in the tide. So that's great if you like to fish, particularly inshore. At Port St. Joe, the high tide is at 10:37. That's Eastern time, 10:37 this morning. Low tonight at 8:38 p.m. That's only about an 0.8 of a foot tide change. Not a lot of tide change there, but it is what it is. The marine forecast today, there's a fairly small chance of rain, about a 25% chance of rain. Wind this morning will be out of the northwest at about 4 to 5 miles an hour. Not much wind, but this afternoon after lunch, it'll get out of the southwest up to about 10. So if you got anything planned on the water, I'd do it this morning. We're not the Weather Channel, but pay attention to the fronts that are coming in across the Atlantic. There's three, one right now in the South Caribbean, two out in the Atlantic. And of course, we've got a system off the eastern United States that may develop. So watch that, pay attention to that, and we will take our first break right now. Well, welcome back. First thing I want to do this morning is say a happy belated birthday to Mr. Dennis Baxley in Cottondale. Dennis is a loyal viewer of the show, and I understand had a birthday yesterday. But Dennis, on behalf of Winston, who's not here, and my compatriot who's sitting over here to my right, I'll introduce in a minute, we want to wish you a happy birthday. With me on my right is Ken Parramore. Ken is...
Good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
I didn't know you said you wasn't with the Weather Channel, but I thought you were being trained by Jim Cantori. I thought you were under training with Jim Cantori.
You know, it's funny. Every time he shows up, people leave in mass.
The last time they said you were with him.
No, I was not. But anyway.
And the B team is in Studio B this morning.
Yes, a B or C team won. But
right.
Anyway.
I'll straighten up.
That's all right. Ken worked for many, many years with FWC, and I did as well. But I got to know Ken there, and Ken and I worked on a lot of projects together, and since we've retired, we both have been working with our local turkey chapter, trying to resurrect we've resurrected the chapter, and it's gone great guns. But Ken, what's any news from our local, any chapter news?
As most people know, the banquet season nationwide due to COVID was canceled. There have been only a handful of banquets nationwide since March. The state of Florida only got a couple in, and then that's one of the major, if not the major, fundraising, income-producing activities that NWTF does across the nation, and they came to a screeching halt. Well, the bottom line was that the NWTF was on the verge of going under due to lack of funding. And so they put together a plan called Call for All, And if you go to nwtf.org, you can make donations or you can participate in auctions, virtual raffles, virtual banquets. And anyway, they had about 60 days to get to a $5 million mark in order to stay afloat. To continue the next 6 months, and they achieved it. We achieved it, by August 31st, which was...
And you're on the board now here in Florida.
State board, right.
State board.
Chapters donated. Chapters did their own raffles, auctions, different virtual things to help, plus the people, of course. So for all who have donated and participated, thanks.
And Ken, let me interrupt you. I'm proud of our local chapter. We had a little bit of money, not much, but we had a little bit in the bank, and we stepped up and gave what we could to the National Wild Turkey Federation. And, and then this fundraiser.
We did, which was leftover funds from what you all helped us with our banquet last year that we had in the bank, was hoping to have it, left for this year. But we gave it to them. And then we had a gun raffle the last, actually 30, 45 days. And we sold a bunch of tickets for a gun raffle, which raised another almost $3,000. And so we're giving, we're forwarding that to them. And we had 2 lucky winners that won a Benelli shotgun, a
20 gauge.
Yep, and an AR-15. So, and we will probably have some other things coming up as time goes on to help raise funds. But the bottom line is now the clock is running for NWTF till February, and they're needing or hoping for another $7 million. So some banquets are doing outside stuff. Obviously, it's too hot down here to have a banquet outside, and everybody's preoccupied with their own lives. So we're just kind of dead in the water right now.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was serious with the NWTF when they let go 51 people. Some of them had been on for 20, 25 years.
Yeah, there was a big layoff nationwide.
And it wasn't just in our area, it was across the nation. And all this COVID thing started at the beginning of the banquet cycle, I believe, after they had purchased.
Yeah, that's where you're going. Another quick point was all the merchandise for every banquet in the nation was already purchased and delivered and in their warehouses for distribution. So they're sitting on all that inventory that they've paid for, that banquets normally recoup for them.
Sure.
And it was a mess.
It was a disaster.
Yep,
it sure was. So glad that and the 2 winners have been notified that got their guns and will get their guns in the days ahead through FFL dealers. But anyway, so all that's taken care of. I tell you what we're going to do right now. We're going to take our next break coming up, and then when we get back from that, we'll talk with Ken about a little fishing. Well, welcome back. Ken, we were talking a little bit off during the break about fishing and all, and you had a pretty decent season, didn't you?
I did, considering the weather that we had, and
it blew like a gale during some of this time.
Well, I guess you knew, but a lot of people didn't know. I got a new boat in April, so I was itching to use my new boat, and of course, wanted it in anticipation of snapper season, which we got. And we ended up with, I don't know, a little over a month and a half, recreationally. Right. But I caught a real big red snapper, the biggest one that I've caught in a couple of years, which was about 29 inches. So
That's a big snapper.
He was big. My personal best was about 31, 32, but that was one I've had. My wife caught a almost 30-inch gag grouper.
Wow. And
that was her biggest ever, and so we were proud to have that in the boat. I caught a nice kingfish, about 20 pounds. So I kind of broke in the boat, pretty good for the first few days.
What are you putting in?
I've been using the Lynnhaven ramp.
Do you? And you go all the way around?
Yeah, because of just the hassle of the ramp and people. But Lynnhaven ramp has got to be a zoo lately as well. So I used to go downtown more, but there was more room to park, and things weren't the way they were, and you save fuel by not running around. But I've been using Lynnhaven just because it's convenient. Right. We live there. But on another note, my daughter-in-law Jennifer caught a nice little bull dolphin in the Keys. Because they moved to the Keys, and so the fishing's been pretty good down there too. So between the the king, the grouper, the snapper, and the various mangroves and lane snappers and stuff you got, we had a pretty good season. But overall, I counted the days that we missed,
Right.
from the opening days, and
Right.
we missed about 2.5 weeks of total days of fishing for the season.
Well, that wind was tough.
So
during
the
that
wind and the
period.
rain, it rained for days, it blew, the storms were
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, you and I fish two different ways. I love to fish. I get so sick when I go offshore, and it's been a curse living in this area. I've been invited, I can't tell you how many times, to go offshore, and I rarely can, keep it all together to be able to do that. The weather's got to be perfect for me to be able to do it. But anyway, I love to wade fish, and I had a guy that took me under his wing when I first moved here 40 years ago, close to it, and taught me about cast netting, bait, and everything. And I'll tell you, I've had a great spring and even summer. But my last trip, and I don't mind telling you, I went over to Crooked Island. All I caught was, in terms of bait, were yellow jackets. And I don't know if you know the viewers may know what a yellow jacket is, but it's a menhaden looking fish. Some people call them leatherbacks, but they've got kind of an orange tail. And if you touch them, they have venom in their fins and they'll sting you. And my hands were bloody.
They hurt.
And it was a disaster.
In South Florida, they call them skipjacks. We used to catch them in the
Right.
cast nets the same way, and it's
Yeah.
you'll know what it is when it gets
And
you.
when they show up, you can quit because the water is so hot. And of course, I mentioned water temperature earlier. So I'm waiting for a few weeks till the water begins to cool down. They kind of disappear at that point. Hey, they're hopefully they'll be gone.
Real quick, I want to throw in, we talked about photography and the fishing pictures that you all
Right.
see. My wife took the fishing pictures, and she's kind of dabbles in the photography, but she was out back the other morning, and there was a commotion in the backyard, and she went outside, and there was a hawk on a limb in a tree, and the hawk was eating a bird that had caught
Songbird.
up on that limb, but there was a mockingbird that was heckling the hawk.
Wow.
As he was trying to eat. So we're only assuming it was either the baby mockingbird or another mockingbird. But the one picture, she's got the mockingbird in flight when the hawk was eating the other bird up on the limb. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we've got a sharp. I'm not
I
sure.
think because it was sharp.
Is it sharp-shinned hawks?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think there are several sharp-shinned hawks in the Lynn Haven area right now. That's where you and I both live. Because I see them. I live a good distance from you, but I see them over in our neighborhood. A few trees still left that they can actually perch in, but I see them over
And
there.
if you have bird feeders out, that's their buffet.
Oh yeah, and we've got a huge bush right there by ours, so the birds can kind of hopefully escape there. So let me transition. Let me mention something. There's a loyal viewer in Jackson County. His name is Trent Hill. I scored a big deer for Trent that he killed this past season. It actually scored 134 3/8. Had 14 points. Had 5 points on the right side, 9 on the left. I tell you, you just don't see deer like this. Enormous basis. But Trent got a hold of me last week, and they may have showed it on the show. I'm not sure here on Winston's show. But Trent applied for and got alligator permits, 2 permits, and he killed a really fine alligator in the Apalachicola River. He killed a 9-foot, 3-inch gator. He didn't weigh him, but I imagine this gator probably was pushing 300 pounds. It took him, he said, about 45 minutes. He hung it with a snatch hook and then was able to get it to the boat with a rod and reel. And now this is not a small rod and reel for speckled trout. These are bigger rods and reels, obviously, but he was able to get it and then kill the gator. But it's an enormous alligator, and of course now is the alligator season. You and I used to deal with this, but from August 15 until November 1, there's a specified time. Each trapper that applies that gets pulled has a time that he's told when he can alligator hunt, what county or water body he can hunt on. And so it's a real exciting time for alligator hunters. Again, they're allowed 2 permits. These permits are not cheap. $272 covers not only their permits, but also their tags, their CITES tags. that have to be affixed to the alligator. So if you live out in a remote area, you're apt to see alligator hunters right now, people alike. You can still report it if you feel like it's a concern. You can report it to FWC, but more than likely, that's what they're doing. Let's take another break. Well, welcome back. Ken and I were talking during the break, and one thing we wanted to mention, I don't know if Winston will mention this coming up, but it's about the new deer zones, the reporting process. And Ken, I think you've got something that people may be interested in for reporting killing deer during this upcoming season.
The best I can tell, and pardon me for having to look at my phone for the app, but they've added an additional app to the process to add to your phone to help aid or enable the reporting process, in addition to what was in effect last year. Last year there was an app, and there was the phone-in reporting and the paper reporting. But
so this is different than the app.
This was a newsletter, came out from FWC.
Okay.
And they're introducing a new user-friendly option for logging and reporting harvested deer, and the link is GoOutdoors.Florida is one, but the new one is Fish Hunt Florida app. And if you go to FWC.com, there's a link for the Fish Hunt Florida. It's the same app that you buy and store your hunting and fishing licenses on.
Okay.
So in reading their newsletter, it appears that there is an additional app or link you can click on in addition to what was in place last year, which is still there.
Okay.
So it looks like now there's a couple of apps, and then the reporting and calling in
process.
All right,
hold right there. You kill a deer. What are the ways that you've got to report that deer? You've got this app, which we'll get into, and what are the other ones?
Well, it's the original app,
right?
Which is called Go Outdoors Florida, which it's on. Okay. It was in the original information about reporting. But if you're not into apps and computers, there's a paper log.
Okay.
You can download or print off of the page that paper.
You write everything down on that piece of paper.
Right.
Before you move your deer?
Right. When that deer is harvested, and before you move it, you fill out that paper, the bottom portion of that paper, and it tells you the process. And then you're good to go for 24 hours from the place of harvest to home, to processor, to wherever. And if you choose to use paper only, there's a phone number on there, and you have 24 hours to report that kill.
Okay.
So you're covered from the woods to home or wherever with a piece of paper, and then you have that amount of time. Or go to one now of two apps on your phone, do it at the site, and you're good to go. You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do is put this app on your phone.
Some people have said they didn't have a signal. Well, it'll upload. It'll upload when you get to a place that has it, and once it's done on the app, it covers it all, because you can pull it up and show, and you probably get a receipt of some sort. So they're saying it's better, and this year we'll find out.
Good deal. And we're in south of the interstate. I think we're in DMU 1, I think.
And then north of
the interstate is 2.
And the bag limits are different, or not the bag limits, the antler restrictions are different in those two different zones. So as you all know, there's a wealth of information on the FWC webpage, and it's a booger sometimes to navigate it.
And I've heard people complain about having to do this. People don't like change. Hey, I don't like change, but the biologists that work with FWC are trying to get information about the deer harvest here in Florida, and I think it behooves all of us to try to do our part. Go ahead and bite the bullet, fill this out, and once you do it, you'll find out it's not a bear. It's easy. It's fairly easy to do. I hate to say it, but I carried the paper in my vest pocket last year. I didn't know if I'd have a signal, so, but anyway.
I got them in the glove box of my truck last year. Since it was new, I chose to do the paper route. I wasn't going to fool with apps, and so I did a paper log from the place I left till and then I call it in. You know, you can wake up the next morning and call it in if it's
Sure.
an afternoon hunt. You don't have to do it right after harvest as long as you fill out that.
And when you call it in, they don't keep you on the phone long. They ask a
No.
couple of questions and that's it. And so you're done, but it does give them a record of how many bucks and does are killed.
And there's a third I forgot about. You can also report it online from your home computer.
Right.
In replace of the phone call.
Okay.
So
All
you
right.
can do it online as well.
Okay. All right. So now you know the drill. But just go to the website and look at the website, or either get a copy of the handbook from your tax collector or somebody that has that, and it'll direct you to the right place. Ken, have you seen off the work that's going on here in Florida with lionfish? Have you do you ever catch lionfish when you're out in deep water?
No, they say you can, but it's rare to catch one on a hook and line.
My brother just caught
You can.
a lionfish just a couple of weeks ago. He was fishing off Destin and caught one. But
I wish we could. I wish you could target them better because they are good eating.
Right.
And you would help deplete them from the places that you're fishing in. But I've never caught one on a hook and line.
Well, there's actually there's some work that's being done right now, and I picked up on this, saw this weekend, where people are actually, the biologists are learning, they're doing two things. One is they're using a giant net, not a net, a giant trap that basically when it hits the bottom, it unfolds, and then they've learned that they can use certain things to entice a lionfish. They're experimenting with that because when they start pulling up, all the wings come
That's
together.
kind of like the old star crab traps.
Well, very similar. And then the other thing they're working with is also lobster traps, but it has a very narrow opening. It doesn't allow lobster to get in, but the lionfish can get in there. So they're also working with those. So those are some things that are coming down the pike. I did see where Whole Foods is selling them for $11 a pound.
Wow.
And I said, that's amazing. Well, listen, we're out of time. We hope you will join us again tomorrow. And Winston hopefully will be back, and we will see you then.
See you later.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.